Hello viewers, another beautiful day. Hope your five senses of work, health, and strength is good or excellent. Hey, Death Stranding 2 on the beach. Dev says the difference between PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 isn't great, but the current gen system made development more efficient. Says according to a member of the Death Stranding 2 on the beach development team, the difference between the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5 is not great, but the current generation system has made game development more efficient. In an interview published in the latest issue of Edge magazine, as reported by GameSpot, Kojima Production Chief Technical Officer commented on the difference between the two Sony consoles, saying that it is not great. Most obvious improvement introduced by the current generation system is faster loading time. But aside from this, the biggest difference is that on PS5 there are more efficient ways of arriving at similar goals, such as artists no longer being constrained in a world creation, no longer having to find workarounds to make level work. At the same time, this increased freedom leads to other issues such as technical challenges for programmers. In some ways, Sakamoto-san added, this has created a situation where artists are out of control, which likely often happens at a development studio headed by a visionary mind like Hideo Kojima. Says here, as highlighted by the current console generation, the days of massive generational leaps may have become a thing of the past, although manufacturers like Microsoft still promise massive leaps with their future console generation. More powerful hardware, however, may not be needed to create compelling experience that looks great, especially looking at what games like Death Stranding 2 on the beach can deliver on the base PS5. So things may not be too grim for gaming in the future, even without those incredible technical leaps seen in older console generations. And it says Death Stranding 2 on the beach launches on PlayStation 5 on June 26. And let's see here, we got one more article on this here. This is from eTechnics. They got the same thing. They said the technological jump from the PS4 to PS5 isn't that huge, says Death Stranding 2 devs. Says there Akio Sakamoto, Chief Technical Officer at Kojima Production, who worked on Death Stranding 2 on the beach, recently shared his thoughts on the technological difference between the PS4 and PS5. According to him, the leap from PS4 to PS5 is not as huge as some might expect, especially when compared to past console upgrades. In an interview with Edge, Sakamoto explained that the biggest change was likely in efficiency. The PS5 hardware allows developers to achieve their goal more easily and in less time compared to the PS4. This is a more subtle evolution, but still an important one when working on Death Stranding 2 on the beach for the PS5. Efficiency improvement with the PS5. Then it says Sakamoto was asked about the development team achieved on the PS5 that wasn't possible on the PS4. His response reflects a deep understanding of the hardware, saying that the most noticeable improvement was in loading times. However, he emphasized that the difference between the two consoles wasn't that big. Instead, the PS5 offer more efficient ways to reach similar goals. According to him, while the new hardware makes everything easier, there aren't necessarily features that can only be done on the PS5, but would be possible on the PS4. It's more about having a smoother process than a faster result. And it says creative freedom for artists. Subtopic says Sakamoto also mentioned that the artists on the teams face fewer limitations when creating the world of Death Stranding 2. They no longer have to find complex solutions for designing the levels. However, this creative freedom has led to its own set of challenges for programmers. In some ways, it created an environment where artists are now working with fewer restrictions, which has resulted in more technical hurdles for development teams. Well, that's the end of the article. Now, back on WCCF Tech, there was one comment. Who was this? Dark Origin said this. I understand a bit about the architecture of these video games, and I'll try to explain why the PS5 is sometimes a PS4 Pro. He said PS5 RDNA doesn't have RT and tensor cores. To do RT, the shader cores are used 1-to-1. This means that for 5 teraflops of raster plus RT, it will require 10 teraflops of the PS5 RDNA and another 5 teraflops of shader cores to render RT. AMD Radeon believes at the time that leaving part of the silicon specific to RT cores was not an advantage if the developer didn't want to use RT. The future is here. RTX runs path tracing and restir GI sampling techniques, which is much more efficient than restir DI, ray and jump calculation techniques per individual pixel. Says there, and finally, Tensor plays a fundamental role in truly full next-gen graphics, as they use AI to make multiple very heavy graphic workload possible for raw power, viable with high fidelity image quality. Today we already have a tech demo of natural rendering on RTX, and it runs on all RTX, making the Tensor cores in practice become shader cores, boasting RTX video cards of all generation to have a significant boost in next gen ray tracing and path tracing games. And then it says in parentheses, Alan Wake 2 will bring an update to run Unreal rendering later this year. Then it says, unfortunately, Radeon today is not even remotely a competitor to NVIDIA RTX in next gen technology. I am not surprised that Nintendo maintained NVIDIA solution. Now an RTX laptop and probably the RTX 6000 on 3 nanometer or 2 nanometer will bring another overwhelming distance between Radeon GPUs and Radeon video games. For RTX GPUs, I sincerely hope that if there is a next Xbox next gen enthusiast hardware, it will be the first RTX video game, even if it were as expensive as the first Xbox in 2001 at $800. It says you will never see a graphics like this even on PlayStation 6. And then there's a video here. There's a couple of videos here. So I guess this must be Cyberpunk he's running here. So yeah. Well, look, I would say that's the end of both articles. I only got one comment, and that was it. Look, I think when it comes to the PlayStation 4, PS5, I think the PlayStation 4 may have some limitations as far as like game development is concerned. And when you want to expand on things, you might run into a jam. And this is where the PlayStation 5 comes in. The PlayStation 5 has more CPU power, better RAM, a better graphics card, and all the upscaler tech like PSSR and FSR and all this. So it will make I would say it will make game development more better. You can expand on levels and add more details to the environment versus where you were versus like when you were on the PlayStation 4, you know, like on the PS4 on the PS4. There's only so far that you can take a game on that console on the PS4, but then on the PS5 you can expand on that and add more stuff to the environments, to the game and stuff like that. You know, the same thing could be said for like comparing the jump from the PlayStation 5 to the PlayStation 6. You know, and the same could be said for the Xbox Series, jumping from the Xbox Series X to the Xbox, say, Series X2 something. some if they call it that name, you know, that would be the difference, you know. So, but other than that, man, I mean you can get a lot done on the PS4 Pro. You can get a lot done, you know. But on the PS4, on the PS5, on the PS5, you can expand on it. There was an article on wait a minute, on PC Games N. I think it was on No Man's Sky or the Outer Worlds, where the developers were praising the even though they made the game for the even though the Xbox Series X was out, the developers were talking about what they could have achieved, what they can achieve on the Xbox One X. You know, the Xbox One X is a really good console, really good console. You know, and it's better than the PS4 Pro, PlayStation 4 Slim, and the regular PS4 So, yeah, the Xbox One X is a really good console, and so the developers of the I think the Outer Worlds or No Man's Sky, I got to look for that article and put it in the description box. But they were talking about the what they were able to accomplish with the Xbox One X, you know. So yeah, so even though we're on the Series X and PS5, the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X, you know, still got a little bit more juice in it, a little bit more juice left in. You know, you could squeeze out of it. That's why developers are still making games for it. That's why the new Call of Duty that's coming out this year. The new Call of Duty that's coming out this year is going to be on the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X. You're saying so? Yeah, there's still more juice left in them consoles, man. But the Xbox One, the Xbox Series X and the PS5 now, you can expand on those games, and you have more room to do what you need to do, you know, and make the games, you know. How big you want them, you know. So yeah, you know, that's why you didn't see, like, say Final Fantasy, they put Final Fantasy 7 Remake on the PS4, but they never put Final Fantasy 7 Remake Part 2 on the PS4. They put that on the PlayStation 5. Why? Because they have more tools to work with. Yeah, you know, so. Good. These are pretty good articles, man. But the jump, like the developer said, the jump might not be may not be of a big difference. May not be that of a big difference. But you know, but when it comes to these developers, you know, they understand the ins and outs of a console. You know, consoles. You know, the advantage and disadvantages of you know, of this generation versus the last. So yeah. So yeah, man, pretty good article here. But on the comments, I think somebody left two. I think this is Cyberpunk. Let me see what this is. Yeah, Cyberpunk DLSS 4.1. All right, he has 2 videos. That's one. And then here's the other one. So I think, what's this? Cyberpunk. He says, what he says? Cyberpunk kills GTA 6 immersion. Huh? You know, Cyberpunk has came a long way though. When that game came out, people were jumping all over it. But CD Projekt Red never ran from it. They fixed the game. They updated it. They fixed it. Look at it now. Cyberpunk is front and center in every game test. Whenever a new graphics card come out, a new console come out, this game is front and center. Just saying. So yeah, there's 2 videos here. One is 8 minutes, and the other is 16 minutes. So I'll leave the link in the description box. But yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna leave this video for y'all to enjoy though. Nice talking to you people again. Chris, still a star, and start playing. Dark Side. Go on. Peace.